just a bit. If you all will join me in welcoming, and sorry again, I'm the person clicking the button, so I have to get it correct. A wonderful team from the city of Austin. They are going to be discussing building sustainable solutions for digital inclusion and equity post the COVID-19 pandemic. So I'm going to go ahead and welcome them to the table. If I can do all of this correctly, we're living in the age of Zoom.
Yes.
And I am off screen and you can take it away.
Hi, Lucas. Hi, Lucas. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Rondella Hawkins with the City of Austin. I'm the Telecommunications and Regulatory Affairs Officer. And I, first of all, want to thank Next Century Cities for providing Khotan and I the opportunity to share with you our partnership with Leadership Austin. And you'll hear much more about this by Khotan. But before I introduce my co-presenter, I did want to share a bit of background about Austin. And we are primarily an urban suburban community. We are now approaching 1 million population, which I've lived here for 30 years. I cannot believe the growth that has and continuing to grow. Our city covers about 250 square miles, and there's a lot of different terrain here. So building out networks, sometimes we hear from providers, is a bit challenging, but the city, we have been supporting and providing digital inclusion programs for over 20 years. And I have been very fortunate to have worked in this space for that time. And we include public and computer labs. For internet access, we have digital literacy training in some of our city and community facilities, libraries, and in our homeless shelters. And like many cities that are working towards digital inclusion strategic planning, our city council adopted our plan in 2014. And we've been busy implementing, focusing on broadband access, the devices, and, broadband adoption, digital literacy. Obviously, we are in the process of updating that plan through this project. And we have a City of Austin, it's a matching fund program that nonprofits can apply. It's $400,000 annually from our general fund, and it's called the Grant for Technology Opportunities Program. And we are celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. We do conduct a residential technology assessment about every 3 years, just to get a better sense of needs, and so we can allocate resources. But of course, the mapping of infrastructure and the speed of broadband services and availability has always been lacking, and we're hoping that we'll get some improvement in that from the state and from the FCC. And finally, more recently, we created a city, we have city computers that are retired through our refresh program. And we also get donations through a nonprofit that collects them, but we refurbish them and distribute those computers to a nonprofit who then provides to their clients, or those nonprofits can use them themselves. And finally, we have a cross-based coalition. It's community-wide of stakeholders that meets and coordinates. It was kind of like that alliance that Josh referred to, but it really helps for the connection and staying abreast of what nonprofit or what is the school doing, just to help identify potential partnerships and solutions. So there's a lot, we do have a lot of activity, but like everyone, the speakers today and all of our communities. In Austin, the COVID-19 highlighted our digital divide, and while we are very we are very thankful that in Austin, our residents that have a home internet connection is above the national average, and definitely Texas is a large state, and to my friends in El Paso and East Texas and many areas throughout the state, there is significant need. And, in Austin, we have 4 providers. We actually have 4 broadband providers, but there's not overlap. And there's only one company that really serves the entire city that can provide this same level, pretty much the same level of service, but that's to be determined. And that really, I think, is a consequence of when our state legislature they passed state legislation back in 2005 that they're cable providers, but they all now are offering broadband. But back then it's like they don't have any build out requirements to serve in the city of Austin. Prior to that, we were able to actually require reasonable build out requirements. But so with that said, I'm delighted to introduce Khotan Harmon. She is our 2021 Leadership Austin Digital Inclusion Fellow at the City of Austin. And this program is Leadership Austin is a great example of a public-private partnership that is expanding digital opportunities while building community engagement. And she is working on a multi-sector, tactical, and strategic effort to build an equitable and long-term approach to solving the connectivity piece, as well as the devices and digital literacy training to help meet our needs and to help our community and address the digital divide. And the goal is to ensure reliable, affordable broadband for all. And besides this, she is also the founder and CEO of Conscious Leadership Alliance, LLC, which is a consulting practice focused on social entrepreneurship and community solutions. So we're going to provide you some insights about the project, but Khotan's going to give you insights from a former nonprofit executive, and now our leadership fellow. So she's using her expertise to develop broadband adoption strategies to historically hard to reach populations. So with that said,
thank you, Rondella. Hi, Rondella. Hello, everyone. My goodness, what amazing presentations. I was sitting here listening and learning from every panel and every presentation. I feel so honored to be here, and what a joy it is to work with Rondella and her team at the city and to be able to serve our fellow Austinites in ensuring reliable and affordable broadband for all. We have a few slides, if you don't mind. I'll go ahead and share my slides. Let's see, and here we are. This is our very short presentation. I am part of the 4th cohort of Leadership Austin Fellows. This is a group of seasoned professionals and executives. I think that may mean old, I'm not sure, that Leadership Austin is recruiting in order to be of service to the community to help solve some of the challenging issues in the community. Leadership Austin was created as part of the Greater Austin Chamber of Commerce in 1979, and then in 2002, it became a standalone 501c3. It has 3 flagship programs: the Essential, which is for established leaders; Emerge, for young leaders in the pipeline; and Engage. It's a breakfast that happens every month that brings leaders from across the sectors together to talk about various issues in the community. As you can see, there are 11 folks. You'll see 11 of our photos. These are the fellows, the cohort 4. There were supposed to be 10. And the joke is that I am like the 5th Beatle, because the chief technology officers of various organizations got together and they realized very quickly during COVID that they wanted to solve some of the issues that were coming out during COVID. And so what they did is San Davis Foundation, which has a hospital in the region, are of course part of San Davis Foundation. They're a health organization, a foundation. They decided to actually invest in the 11th fellow, and they had me tied to the city of Austin, which I'm super excited to be with this group. So Rondella, what are some of the benefits of having a fellow? This is your first one, right? In the city of Austin in the telecommunication and regulatory affairs.
Yes. So the benefits, so, we are city organization, city staff, while we work, cross community, engaging with lots of different, organizations to get different perspectives. But I think bringing in a fellow it's external to the city and a fresh perspective, not on city staff. They, working and having a background working with the business community as well as the community is definitely helpful. And just having the experience of professional, a senior executive expertise, I think, can really help with building the, looking at the framework, the strategy. What are we missing? Because often we get kind of caught up in this, this is a process for strategic planning. And so we needed to look, we needed to have a different lens. And also bringing in different networks, expanding the networks that we've established at the city. This, accomplishing what we want to accomplish, and like many of you, we know that you need to broaden your networks of what the typical folks that you go to and engage with. And there's not any control power, within the structure. She speaks very freely, has some influence, to just, advising and connecting. So it's just really good to have that, perspective and someone that can build those relationships.
So the selection process is very much like a matchmaking process. So the projects, there are about 10 projects, 10 fellows, and they try to mix and match us. And the way that it happened was that Leadership Austin, they managed the process. They said to me, which projects are you interested in? I read the information about each one and I chose them, and then I rank ordered them, and then Rondella looked at all of our resumes and then rank ordered which 3 she was interested. Hopefully the 3 will match. And then we had an opportunity to talk, and we say match made in heaven because it's just been amazingly fun to work together, and we work really hard and well together. The term is 1 year of service with the option to renew, and there's a small stipend offered by Leadership Austin. There are many different programs like this throughout the United States. I know Fuse does this, FUSC, they work especially with municipalities as well. Chambers of Commerce may also offer this for anyone who wants to consider it. From my perspective, it's a 1-year high impact community focused project. I've had a very successful onboarding from the city of Austin and was assigned staff time and resources, which is amazing. I just became embedded very, very quickly. And due to the magnitude of the project, the city realized that 10 to 12 hours is not sufficient for the project and committed more time and resources. And there's been incredible interdepartmental support for the fellowship. And the staff has been there to support the meeting, the scheduling, just the scheduling of stakeholder meetings would have taken all my time. And they've been there to support and assist. And it's been really wonderful to have that process. And so the skills that you were looking for, Rondella, when you were looking for fellowship. I think you are muted.
I am. It would not unmute on me now. Yes. So with this affordable and reliable broadband for all, knowing that this was a very broad and very large encompassing project, just looking for the capacity for some leadership, real problem solver, definitely someone that we as our team at the city could collaborate, and someone's very collaborative. Just having, I think, more advanced communication, listening skills, looking at the big picture. Also, often we want to race to this, to what is the solution, or we shortchange ourselves for time on how long something should take to build and implement, and just really, making us understand realities of what is, the change management in our community. This is kind of an evolving, broadband access, it's very evolving. It can be ambiguous. People don't know what broadband is in a community. They just know they want an internet connection that's affordable and reliable. And just, we have a very, ever-changing environment. So somebody that can really adapt, someone who is really open to change and not set on, not bringing a solution to us, right? We need to build the solution, working with stakeholders in the community. Just being able to take all this information that we're gathering, the hundreds and hundreds of different, this is like there's a lot of tentacles on this project. So just really bringing it together, working with the team, and helping to bring some clarity and amplify, because often, many of us have worked in this area for whether it be 1 year or 20 years, we know what this world is. We know the terminology. We know, so it's good to have an outside perspective and outside eyes just to bring clarity and some more, and amplify the coherence. And again, being able to build out those collaborations with partners that we've not identified before.
Thank you. So where we are now is that we're moving from implementation of existing programs to much broader strategies. So everything's around amplifying, broadening, raising awareness, reaching larger networks, finding the capacity to function at a level that will allow more private-public partnerships to come into the city, holding the vision for what's possible, because that's one of the things, is to really have someone or a group or being connected to a process that will help everyone raise their heads, because everyone is so engaged and so siloed in their work. How do we then have a unified vision that we can be part of that process? The departments that have collaborated and supported the fellowship in just the past 6 months are the Telecommunication Regulatory Affairs, Economic Development Department, Communication and Technology Department, Center for Excellence in Innovation, Community Engagement Division in the Communications and Public Information Office, Austin Public Health, Austin Public Library, Parks and Recs, and many, many more. We didn't have space to include in this slide, but it's a continuously growing partnership. So how we got here was, as you know, this is, thankfully, I didn't walk into a vacuum. There has been so much great work being done. And there was insights gained from a lived experience of a special meeting called by the Community Technology and Telecommunications Commission in October of 2020. There was a lot of great wisdom around that. There is the goals of their work plan as well, and then also experience from previous supported projects and the inclusion strategic plan. And then, of course, all of the learning that came from COVID. And so how are we going to frame all of this? That was the biggest question. The deliverables, we had to have somehow some deliverables so that the project could move forward. So one was community asset mapping. For, let's say, its simplest way in a business term, for every person in Austin, do they get $1 worth of internet for $1 that they spend? So that's a consumer protection view of it, as well as what kinds of services are what are the existing data? Does this include a speed map? What will that look like? How do we map it out? Feasibility plans. So many of you on this call, I've had a chance to learn from, and trying to see what is happening around the United States that we could learn from in Austin. Of course, very quickly, I realized that Texas is a whole other country with its own very interesting nuances. So how do we adapt that to the needs of Texas, especially for Austin in particular? So what is the problem and where does it exist? Because when we're looking at maps in the 2018 residential survey, we learned that 99% of Austinites have cell phones and 97 have smart cell phones. So what's the problem? Where is it? What's happening is that even though 95% of Austinites use internet at home, this number masks the disparities between communities and levels of access. So they may have a smartphone, but they don't have the right kind of data plan because of affordability issues in order to be able to utilize their devices in the way needed, and or they have devices that is not appropriate for the work that they want to do. So according to the data, the communities that tend to face the highest barriers, no surprise here, was a confirmation of our friends who are in the communities of color, low-income individuals and families, our older adults and seniors, limited English proficiency, and people with disabilities. And of course, as I said, smartphone use is very widespread in Austin, but device gaps exist for education, employment, and health uses. Affordability and skill gaps have become the primary barriers, at least up to this point in the data that we've gathered, for people who actually do not use the internet. So some questions that we're exploring are, how do broadband availability, quality, and speed and cost vary across Austin? Does everyone get $1 worth of internet for every dollar that they spend? How are existing services working or not working for residents? What community needs are not addressed by existing services? What types of challenges residents have experienced from COVID? Are they bandwidth limitations, device issues? What changes have they done? Incredibly resilient, incredibly resourceful. The community has been amazing. And then a very interesting issue is that, are these challenges short-term or are they going to be long-term? When we look at the feasibility plan, are we doing something very short-term? Are we looking in different vistas or horizons? Is this a COVID resolved issue? Are we going to be done with it after COVID or not? But the driving central question that we learned very quickly from trying to solve the community's problems to turning to the community was that we actually need to understand how to identify, reach, and engage Austinites who are most isolated from the resources and services of the city. There is a constellation of usual suspects that are around the city, and they know how to work the system or work with the system, and they know how to work with the community, and then they're doing wonderful work. But what we're realizing is that there is a segment of the population that we're actually trying to reach, these friends in the community that we cannot identify nor reach, to get ask them to become engaged in some way so that we can begin to co-create the solutions, not to create solutions for them. One of the biggest temptations has been, gosh, we have these resources, we know how to do this, let's just solve these problems. But how do we go deeper, and how do we get into that place where we shift into leading from the front of the room to leading from the back of the room and allowing the community to drive this? And there's so many, and I know there's presentations today, especially Detroit. I was so excited to hear that, and I can't wait to learn more about how this could actually become completely community driven. So to that end, we are realizing that we have to have a true cross-sector solution. We actually started with 3. We thought it was a triangle, but we're from Texas. We love the Lone Star. Everything blossoms into the Lone Star for us at some point. So how do we make sure that there are checks and balances from do we understand the issues? What questions are we asking? How are we approaching the problem? Do we understand the realities in the community? Are there solutions? How can we support? How can we create the space for the work to be done? At first, we were really working with only government, business, and social service sector, or the nonprofit sector. Very quickly, we realized, my goodness, we need a counterbalance to the business voice coming in, because they're critical to the sustainable solutions, but they were trying to ideate and pilot very quickly. And we were thinking, wait, we need some data to be able to understand, are these the right solutions? So academic and technical institutions, in terms of partnership, were brought into the model. Very data-driven process, very agnostic about products and process. It's not that we have these products and let's build solutions around it. It's what does the community really need? And of course, the government being the resource and the stewardship of the community. And so what we're hearing that was the most surprising so far for our community is that we are hearing from the Housing Authority that some of the residents are reporting back through focus groups that they actually trust the government more than they trust the business community. So that for us was a little bit surprising in Austin. I had not heard that before, but I heard that in the presentations today. And so that means that the stewardship at the government level is even that much more important. So how do we hold the trust, build the trust, amplify the trust for the community with business, and how do we help solve the issues for businesses, which we know is all around adoption. They want more adoption. Great, we can help you with that, but you have to make sure there's affordability so people can actually get the devices and stay. So how do we build the markets so that they can lift everyone up? And there was our friends from East Texas was mentioning about how to have certain populations maybe in concert with others or in conjunction with other populations. We're going to look at all solutions. So this is the cross-sector solutions map that we have in terms of the stakeholders, our community tech and telecommunications commission. The orange dot sits squarely between our government and our community. They are appointed by the council to ensure that the needs and the priorities of the community are maintained. They have looked at our presentations. They have given their support, and we're working with them very closely to ensure that we're moving correctly forward. We're also aligning all solutions with the priorities of the council. And so they are around homelessness, early childhood care and education, workforce development, and food and housing insecurity. So we want to ensure, and as we're talking to the county in which Austin resides, which is Travis County, we've began to build out a partnership with the county to see if these priorities match the priorities of the county so that we can work in concert to serve more folks in the community around these solutions. We are looking at multi-generational household solutions, mainly that will bring as many of these solutions as possible. So for example, we know we have some rural parts or parts in Austin that have very similar challenges like our rural areas in the 5 counties that surround us. And when it comes to early childhood, the childhood centers in Austin, they are run as businesses and they have certain needs. But then in more rural areas where our friends are more homeschooling their children, possibly a solution around home-based childhood care businesses, as entrepreneurship may be a solution. Not exactly the same thing, but in the same spectrum. They both need mentorship as small businesses in order to be able to function and go to the next level and become economically resilient. We know that a shared services model, which is the back office model of any of the businesses, would be of some use to all of our entrepreneurs within the child care space. That means taking all the stuff like IT, human resources, marketing, finance out of their hands and giving it to people with superpower who can do that, which are the business community, so they can be purposefully engaged in the process. How do we build that partnership, ensure the needs are truly met? So we're looking at various solutions so that childcare can lead to families be able to get back to work even. So whether they start their own businesses and or get back to work to ensure the resiliency of the economy. There are 5 pillars of the solution. We know that even before affordability, infrastructure is extremely important. So it could be 5, possibly 6. This is a very growing model, but we know that infrastructure, super important, affordability, there has to be competition in the market for pricing and affordability, even things like bulk purchase, internet connectivity, reliable, high quality internet, speed and strength, devices, are there appropriate devices, everything from wearable to phones, to tablets, to laptops, to desktops, the whole gamut, what is appropriate for appropriate use, age, culture, language, training, of course, training and skill development on the devices. And then there's this whole other element of IT support that we are learning around what happens after people get training. And we're hearing a lot about digital navigation, digital stewardship, community navigation, community stewardship that run the whole gamut of this kind of what, just dress it down as IT support with 360 solutions that where can that live and who's going to pay for it? We're actually exploring all of that right now. So I'm sorry, I'm sort of running through this. So how are we going to do all this stuff? There's a lot going on. So our technical friends in the business community are saying, all right, let's divide this up. Let's do a 3 horizon view. And we'll do a short-term 1 to 3 years, address immediate needs. There is funding coming down. How do we canalize and channel the funding into the programs and resources currently to ensure that we can serve everyone? How do we bridge the gap from now until, these are not sequential, this sort of happens all together, from now till 3 to 5 years. The most challenging thing is around, of course, collaboration, ensuring that stakeholders all take one step in towards one another and come towards each other so that we can have a multi-sector solution. And some people are going to be comfortable stepping in at different times. That's okay. How to hold the space and embrace everyone to be part of the solution in a very diverse and dynamic ecosystem in Austin. And then long-term, any kind of policy change, culture change, anything around digital citizenship, anything that has to be big idea will take anywhere from 5 to 7 years. To be patient with that process and begin to plant the seeds now to be able to harvest the fruit in about 5 to 7 years. So that is it. My goodness. Sorry, I ran through it all. So there it is. Let's see how I did. We have 1:50 to go. So let me stop there and see if there are any questions. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful that we could talk about this. I think, Rondella, you are... We just ran through it. I apologize. It was a good... Okay, thank you for the comments in chat. We're grateful. Love to connect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll put my email in chat, so please feel free to reach out. I would love to learn from you all and see if we're even doing this the right way and what ideas you might have for us. So thank you.
We'll put the presentation in the chat too. Thank you all very much. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.